he's helped his members year on year get more and more success and to help more and more people in his region. His members have some of the highest return on investment of any members across the country. And so if there's somebody to listen to how to make yourself more successful in BNI, then please, ears open, put your phones down, put everything else away, give this guy your time and attention, because it'd be worth every moment of your time. Pete, over to you, buddy.
Thanks. I think that's kind of built it up so much that now just the expectations are so high. And I laugh there, co-wife. I can't wait to tell Penny that. She will laugh at that. And I'll get in trouble. So guys, I'm just going to share screen and go through some slides. And I think it helps kind of describe some of those things. And it helps with the people who are pictorial, like the numbers, etc., etc. So hopefully a little bit more engaging. I will start off just by saying that the Black Country, I went and delivered in Scotland recently, and they wanted me to explain why the Black Country is called the Black Country. So for those that don't know, it was Queen Victoria went through the area, and everything, because it was a foundries and industrial town, everything was black with soot because of the foundries. So she said it was a very black country, and it stuck. So that's where the Black Country comes from. So I can't see everybody. Let's try and change the screen so I can. Can you all see my presentation or not?
Not full screen, but we can certainly.
You need to swap displays, Peter.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, click on swap displays at the top. There you go. I do it all the time.
You're a star. See, this is...
No, I only know because I literally do it every meeting.
Well, there you go. So still can't see anybody, but somebody shout out if you want me to stop or ask a question or anything else. So, so yeah, that's where Black Country was named. So it kind of covers the whole of the West Midlands area from where I hold. This I start all my core group presentations with, because anybody who's a new member or anybody you go and speak to and say, do you want to come to BNI? This is what they think we are. A complete cult, you know, the way we do things, the secret handshakes, whatever else. But it also, for me, starts with fun. So kind of what do we get from BNI? And look, you'll resonate with all of these because they're all available to different people in different ways. But for me, they're all centered around fun. So, and I don't mean that into the, you know, we accentuate the fun over anything else, but unless you're enjoying it, all of these other things are lovely, including the business, but people will leave because they're not enjoying being there. I get members come to me and say, look, I was going to retire this year, but I don't think I could miss another year of BNI, so I'm going to renew. And that's the reason they renew, not the business. That's just a consequence. So some of the stuff I'm going to talk about, and it hopefully will help your membership and make you think about how you can get more. But really, it's kind of all centered around just make sure you're enjoying each other's company and looking after one another in every way you can, which is where Louise and I have that similarity and shared passion. So this is it's where I started when I bought 3 months into being a member, never been on a leadership team, never been on a role or anything. I was just a mere member and I loved it. And we purchased the region. This was the region when we started. This is the region now. So hopefully you can see kind of quite a vast difference in terms of delivering. And for those that have seen chapter traffic lights for themselves and use them, I want to talk through kind of how I see a region and you as a member benefiting from the region growing and the region benefiting on a chapter level. So it starts with attendance. It kind of sounds really simple. So for me, the number one column is turn up. If you're not there, you can't pass a referral. If you're not there, you can't receive one either. And you can't ask somebody for anything. The next is visitors, because they're the lifeblood of the chapter, whether you like it or not. There's a completely different energy in the chapter when you've got no visitors any particular week. So inviting people along is the opportunity to get to know more people. It's not about, oh, it'll just grow my chapter. That's a nice consequence if it happens, but it's still lovely to receive visitors, get business and work with them, just develop relationships. That's what networking is in its rawest form. Whereas I think too many people get hung up in BNIs. I've got to grow my chapter. Growth isn't the goal. And that's something I'll hopefully go through on this today. Because what happens is when you get that membership and you start growing, there's always somebody that's leaving for whatever reason. It happens quite naturally. But the problem is when you're not controlling the people leaving and why they're leaving, we end up with this circle. And you'll probably recognize it. We've all been through it in every chapter that we've been in. And we end up in this vicious circle almost of we need new members. We're all attending. And then if we lose some, we keep focusing on the growth. So what we've transitioned across over the last 12 months, especially, and a lot more gusto, is this column. So if you look back, you see the referrals is when you get those first two and you start focusing on the referrals, you don't get so many drop members. It's delivering on the business. But you can't start focusing on referrals. Is that chicken and the egg until you've got a decent chapter size. But that referrals is what drives thank you for the business. So I'm sure I'm teaching my grandmother to suck eggs with a lot of this, you know the logic of it, but we're applying it. So the way we're applying it is this. Too many chapters, and we notice this over several years, where we're launching a chapter, they start to grow, they start to focus almost too much on referrals and saying we need to now get business, such that a few people leave for other reasons and it starts tipping back. And it's almost like a waving line that keeps rising and falling back, even if it goes that little bit further. But until it gets that tipping point, the weighting of the focus should be on visitors to get to 25 plus. And then as we transition past that, making sure the dial is transitioning across to referrals and less on visitors. And as it does, and it continues to grow, there's a lot more focus on referrals, and they just come more naturally. Because one in a 6-month period to one person in your chapter, focus on somebody else, and you've got a lot of people passing back. So we did this, and this dial, if you like, the fuel for your chapter is focusing on how many referrals you can find for as many different people as possible. And I say that because the best bit of advice I was given as a member when I first started was try and pass £1,000 referral to everybody in the room. You've got 25 people, that's £25,000 return. Would that be worth your effort? And that's the way it was pitched to me. And I thought, that's a good return. I'll give that a go. So I had my one-to-ones. I tried for everybody to try and introduce them to somebody that would generate that. Some got 5,000 or 6,000, some got 500 or 600. But I made sure I made an effort to get at least one referral for everybody in the room. I did it in 3 months. I gave £23,500 in referrals. I received £25,000 back in 3 months. Hence why I said to the owner at the time, let me know when you're interested. So it really does work when you focus on it, but we needed enough to get there in the first place. The results over the last 12 months, this is something that Tim Cook, National Director, has just done for me. The dotted lines are the 2019 and then the dotted red line, the 2020 results for first year retention for the country. And then the grey line was ours, so pretty much tracked last year. The red line this year you can see is a country mile above. We're around the 90% retention for first year members. This is because of the strategy that we've been putting in place. So we're looking after our members by making sure they understand the whole strategy, the long term, and finding a referral for more people. So it started to deliver a lot more business, a lot less people leave. And it's not just the effects of COVID, it's the result of the effort, I think, of the team putting in some designated detail of what they do, when they do it, and how it's going to give them a return in the long term. I can talk to the team about that in the future. Traffic lights, again, a lot of people believe it was always a stick. This was introduced many years ago, as Mike knows, actually just to celebrate people, to recognise those that are making the effort for others. So we purchased the region of 29% of the members in the grey and 12% in the green, and you can see obviously the transition. The reason I'm showing this isn't kind of, oh, look what we've done, but if you look at some of the graphs and look at the similarities, you'll see hopefully how what have I just done? Sorry, guys. This is still sharing. So if you look at the average one-to-ones, we started, embarrassed to say, we started at 5, 4, 3 kind of one-to-ones per month. The difference of having more one-to-ones, this is the thank you for the business. So when Mike talked earlier about how we've delivered it, it's pretty much mirroring the one-to-ones. Once you go past a certain point of having regular one-to-ones with enough people, it starts to deliver the business for everybody. And that's that sharing with everyone that we talked about.
Pete, swap your view if you can, buddy. We're looking at your whole set of slides again. So swap display, I can see it there, above, just above your clock to the right of it.
You can see it, I can't. So all I can see is stop share or more. I'm really sorry, guys.
Go on, that's all right.
Bear with me a second. Let's try again.
As I say, guys, while Pete's done, if any questions you've got that are relevant directly to your chapter, to anything that he says, then stick them in the chat bar. We'll make sure we get time to ask him directly afterwards. So
is that back up?
Yeah, we're still seeing your whole slideshow. It doesn't matter too much if we see that.
Yeah, if you want to send them directly to me in private message, then I can keep a check on them and answer the questions. Perfect. Perfect.
Okay. So the one-to-ones mirror the thank you for the business and the members in the green. So if I go back at the 2 other graphs, you can see the green members steadily going up, the one-to-ones going up because of more people aiming for that green, doing more, and the thank you for the business is the result. And too often, I think we look at the results, but we don't know how we gain them. And I think that's the same in every business, where if you know what drove it, what's the driver that gets you to the result, you can repeat the driver each time and get consistent results. And I think that's the problem. A lot of people do it and they go, oh, no idea how that happened. Oh, that was lucky. And they always say that, you know, the harder you work, the luckier you get. But you need to know what you need to work on. And the reason I talk about traffic lights a lot is I've done this 3 times in 8 years, and it's pretty consistent that the number of people that leave are the ones that don't put in as much effort to help others. So the grey leavers, then red, then amber, then green. So naturally people are going to leave at whatever situation, for whatever reason, changing company, etc. But if you're making more of an effort for other people, you get the return. If you get the return, you tend to want to stay because it works. And then there's other factors as well. So, you know, traffic lights isn't a stick to beat up. It really is a case of use it properly, and it does deliver the results fairly consistently. Can anybody tell me what they think these people have all got in common? It's not Simon Cowell's dentist, just in case you're checking. Anybody shout out?
No idea.
Money, you think so? All introductions. Yeah, they're all introductions through our region the last 3 years, direct introductions. So the reason I put this up is, again, not about the region. It's about BNI. It's about, none of them are members yet, but the reality is people know them. And it's not about who's in your room. It's who they know and how much they trust you to introduce them. So I'll give you a couple of those. Rothschilds, I know the MD personally now, but one of our members used to walk to school with him. He grew up in a pretty rough area in Birmingham and climbed the ladder, and he's now MD of Rothschilds in the UK. But he just used to call, knock on his door and walk to school with him in the morning. Jessie J, this is a lovely one. Jessie actually, Maddie, the young girl in the photo there, was actually sadly dying of cancer, given 6 months to live, and reached out, not her, but her auntie, reached out to our members and said, guys, it's a bucket list to meet Jessie J. I know it's a long shot, but can anybody help? We got 3 introductions, somebody to a nail artist, a hairdresser, and a manager. And the guy that knew her manager was a lighting company because he went to school with him. So it's not all about kind of the people you expect to know them. It's about kind of having that, who would introduce me when the opportunity arises for the right introduction. So you've got to position yourself that you are the right introduction, but you've also got to ask for it. So don't be afraid to think a little bit bigger. So one of the stories I often tell for my members is that the people who talk about building a wall. So I'm a builder, I could build a wall around your property, and it's an absolute given. If I'm talking about that level of building capability every week, I'll probably get a few walls and I'll be able to help a few people, but I'm literally every week asking for another one. If I talk about the opportunity to put 6 houses on a piece of land, I could build it from, you know, from the footings, ground up, internal development, using my BNI team to do all the decorating and everything else. You're fairly confident that if I could do that, I could build a wall. So think about the referral you're looking for as being this big, and we will fill the gap in between. But if you think about the wall being down here, people will do that. They rarely say, oh, I've got 20 houses. You think, well, no, and here talks about 6, and maybe you can't do that level. So pitch yourself at the top that you could absolutely deliver 100% professionally, and people fill the gap. But don't put yourself down and think, oh, people won't be able to deliver that, or it's too big. If you could deliver on that promise and do it professionally, ask for it. It's out there, and the connections are there. So again, it's getting that belief in everybody to ask for what they want. And the one thing that members do the worst, I genuinely, over 8 years, I consistently see that they do not tell me the value. So, you know, I had a one-to-one with an electrician last week where he just said, well, I'm an electrician, what more can I say? Everybody knows I deal with electrics. And I asked him kind of, well, in that case, could you run a wire? I said, oh, I don't do that small stuff. Or I don't do this commercial stuff, or I don't do that. And so it ended up that actually nobody knows quite how to introduce him, what to say, why him, compared to 10 other electricians. So what's the value add? And really the best way to do that is tell a story. Tell a lovely story of this is how I helped somebody else, the value to them, what they did, how I left them feeling. I'd love an introduction to X to do the same to them. And then if I could relay that story to X, it's much easier for me to tell the story of something that will be a benefit to X. So they'll say, yeah, get them to give me a call. But the value is the biggest thing missed out in asking for specifics. And this one really is just a short story on trust and how it comes about, really. So when I talked about the traffic lights, the building of trust, this is a story I had from an executive coach in my corporate career. That was about a 7-foot wall, and it's the best picture I could get was a guy attacking a 7-foot wall, and he gets to the tipping point, and his energy starts to zap, all the lactic acid's building up in his muscles, and it starts falling backwards. And imagine if I'm walking past and I see him struggling, I can just do that with a helping hand to his knee. Over he goes. The energy starts to come back. He complete the assault course after that. Imagine, if you will, him standing, staring at the 7-foot wall, saying, this is going to be really difficult. I'm never going to get over that. I'm just, as a complete stranger, going to say, yeah, it looks tough, and walk on by. That's an analogy for life. If you're making the effort for others, you're making the effort for yourself, you're trying, people will help you, and it'll come from the place you least expect it. It's not from, like I said earlier with those introductions, the place that you think, oh, they'll know that person. I had an unfortunate incident with a networking many years ago. This lady walked up to me, so what do you do? And I said, I help small businesses grow. And she went, you're no good for me. And physically put a hand up in my face. I was mortified. And I carried on my network. I was like, how rude. And it transpired that she said, well, this room's no good for me. I'm looking for corporates. And somebody said, well, have you spoken to Pete? Says, why would I speak to him? He's only small businesses. He's given his background's corporate, and he knows this person, that person. And she came back and said, apparently we need to talk. Suffice to say, I took great joy in saying, I don't think we do. I wasn't rude, but I did tell her, no, thank you. So there's a couple of things I'll leave you with, really, is the how big is your stage? And this is something that people have asked me about, kind of executive director and whatever else. We're no different to members, to DCs, to everybody else. There's just a different stage that you're known across. So as ED, people often come and I'm known across the region and I can help introduce to lots of businesses, etc. But I do exactly the same as you guys. And so who do I know, like, and trust that I would introduce, and for what reason? So we get people who are known in just their chapter, and members go, oh, I didn't realize we had somebody who did that in the region. And then there's known across the region, and these kind of forums help massively. And then you could help with launching a new chapter. I had one of my guys actually generate 40-odd thousand pound in new business whilst he launched a chapter. And he never once kind of spoke about his business and said, this is what I do. But people got to know him, have the one-to-ones, and through that generate some opportunities. So that's another forum to meet more people. So is Ambassador DC, etc. If you want to get involved and get your name across a bigger stage effectively. So I'll finish off really. One-to-ones we found is the absolute driver of the to the next level to business. So it's the driver, it's not the end result, but the result is referrals, and from referrals come business, which is the end game. Simple methodology, try and help a different member every week. The reason for that is you end up with a room full of referral givers instead of one that you could give to possibly every week. Use the region, be specific, ask for the bigger referrals, the 6 houses, not the wall. Use a story, and in terms of the 7-foot wall, make the effort you'd like in return. And lastly, I suppose, be on the right stage. If you're not on the right stage, then if you can't use BNI, what can you use? So sorry, lots of info in there, but hopefully kind of got you a flavour of how we've done it in the region. It does work, but you got to work at it. Any questions?
Love that, Pete. Love that. Really, 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 really good, mate. Really good. Please, let's open up some questions. I don't know whether there are any on the chat. I haven't been looking on the chat, to be fair, but
sorry for the technical difficulties.
Oh, good.
Louise, have you got any there? Because I mean, I can always kick off with a question, but have you got any there from any of the members, Louise?
I do, but I've just gone back and said, can you just rephrase it slightly, because I think it's a good question, but we can turn it into, it's more of a personal question where it can be turned into more of a generic member.
Can I ask a question then while that comes back to you, Louise?
Mm-hmm.
Pete, we see a lot of our members doing lots of one-to-ones, but that not really being backed up and supported with perhaps that seeing it in the referrals being passed. How do you get your members to take action, or how do you encourage them to take action as a result of the one-to-ones they're actually doing?
We encourage to allow kind of a time. So first thing I would say is like, just that, we're planning an hour. Is that okay? Got an hour? Yeah. Or I've got plenty of time. And okay, before that's up, I just put a time on it. So I've got 10 minutes to go and say, guys, just want to kind of say stop. I've got 5 minutes. Hopefully, if you can look down your phone or give me one person you think you can introduce me to, let's do it now. One of the biggest things, and this came from a member about 4 years ago, he said, every time I do a one-to-one, I say, let's follow up. And by the next time we meet, we'll do this. Do you know when they do it? The day before they meet again. Mm. They don't do it in between. They don't do it straight away. They do it because the pressure is on them to do it because they're meeting them tomorrow. So that's the same with your meeting. Is like, oh, I've got to face these tomorrow. I better do this because it's your reputation on the line. So what we say is just don't leave yourself jobs to do when you leave a one-to-one. Do it. Finish the one-to-one with a phone call. So what we do, I pick the phone and say, Mike, I've got this person right in front of me now. They'd love a conversation with you. This is what it's about. I recommend them. Would you take the call from them, please? You go, yeah, of course I will, Pete, for you. Okay, done. There you go. Give him a call this afternoon. He's expecting it. And it's amazing what effort you put in when you're in front of somebody to do that call that you won't do when you leave the call or before your next meeting. So I encourage you to make a call or just speak to one person.
Excellent. Thank you. Right, Louise, over to you. Have you got clarity now?
Actually we did challenges in our forum, so I was just having a look at some of the chapter challenges that people came up with, and a very common one was actually about they felt that they weren't retaining members. When we actually looked at the figures, it's more about converting it's converting new visitors rather than actually retention. What sort of advice would you give to chapters that are struggling to convert? I think there is a bit of a perception that obviously, well, it'll all be better when we're back face to face, but I don't personally believe that. So
we've got one of the highest visitor rates in the country, but our conversion rate isn't. I wish it was as high. But I would say the follow-up, the key and the fortunes in the follow-up, it's exactly the same for your own business. I had somebody, I had a damp issue in my house, and I got the guy out. He came out and he didn't didn't send me the quote. He came out to do all the measuring up and all the checking. He didn't follow up. He didn't quote even. So I ended up going somewhere else because the guy just didn't come back to me. And that's the same with chapters. People don't pick up the phone and follow up and say, how was the meeting? Now you've had time to think about it, and really within 24 hours, because they remember how they felt. But after 24 hours, they forget how it made them feel, and they've got busy on other things. And then suddenly I haven't got time for next week's meeting. Yeah. So a quick follow up within 24 hours.
Have you got any more, Mike? I've
got one. Roy, you put one on the. I think I understand it. If I get it wrong, buddy, do you want to? Well, actually, Roy, unmute yourself and ask the questions you want to ask it to Peter, please.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, Pete. It's Roy here. I've got a couple of ideas on another couple of WhatsApp groups I want to introduce, and I'm worried that the group may say, "Oh, not another WhatsApp group," but I think it's a great way of communicating. I just wondered if you had a better way of communicating with the group than WhatsApp.
I think communicating, WhatsApps are great for chat and to ping something over, but they don't flow in terms of actions. So it depends what you want to achieve. One of the tools we use a lot now for follow-up, for like visitors, for regional stuff, etc., is Trello. So if you've got a process you need to follow, a Trello board, I don't know who's familiar with Trello, but it's once you start using it, you almost can't stop. Because the beauty of Trello is you can just pick up a board and move it across to the other, and it's done in real time. So if you have got a follow-up, you've got 6 visitors, you put them on a Trello board and you say, Louise, can you follow the 6 visitors up? Roy's got access to it. And then as you do it, you move them as followed up. They're a yes, no, maybe, whatever the follow-up after is, it's done. So you don't need to pick up the phone or check on somebody. It's just done. And you can all see it as a group. So those kind of things, processes we put into Trello, chat we put into WhatsApp. And the only other thing is visitors. We have a separate kind of like chit chat, social chat to a chapter chat. So the chapter chat should be who's subbing, who's visiting this week, and maybe 10 minutes. And then the rest is on the social chat.
Hello, board. Thank you. Thanks, Pete. Cheers.
Okay.
How do you engage members onto training? So that was another question that came up, was trying to engage them in the workshops, because there's so much there. I can see Liam like nodding, going, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, it's strange actually, because we don't, I think it's culture of kind of, what you can get from it. That you probably, all of you heard the old adage, there was a guy, a finance director, kind of come panic to his MD, and he said, what if we train all these people and they leave? And he's worried about the numbers. And the MD says, yeah, but what if we don't train them and they stay? Is that who you want in your group? So it's about having the right people. And I've got some absolutely amazing members. I've got one guy that's, I think he's 18 years now in BNI, and he goes to MSP every year. And he's probably been to more MSPs than I have, and it's kind of, and he just said, I've got to lead by example, and I always pick something up or I meet somebody new. So the biggest thing we put it on is, guys, you've got an opportunity to meet more people that you would never meet unless you went around 8 different chapters, and yet you can meet them in one room by going to training. What would you want to do? 8 BNI groups or one training? It's really, really simple, guys, and people overthink it. I mean, mine is I picked up £7,000 from going to MSP for 4 months running when I first started as a member. 7 grand from MSPs, and you know why? Because half those members don't even know who's in their own group, let alone in the region. So I engage with them, have a one-to-one follow-up, and there you go, I've got some business. And 2 weeks later, they have a one-to-one with a guy in their chapter, and they go, "Oh, I've already given the business to Pete." So, training for me is another networking opportunity. You can use it or not at your own peril, but why would you not when it's all free? It's, in the scheme of things, you might pay for face-to-face or the venue, etc., but the rest is just a no-brainer for me.
You're a very savvy business person. I know you study and you're very analytical and things. What do you see as the next few months are obviously going to be an interesting time as we get the opportunity to go back to in-person meetings.
Yeah.
What kind of advice are you giving your chapters and leadership teams on how to approach that?
So my background kind of enabled me. I've done a lot of courses on change management, and there's probably more experts in this room than me, but change management is all about communication. It's not about the actual decision. It's not about the end game. It's about communicating. So the one thing we're saying to our chapters is communicate, get the feeling of the group, get a consensus as to why, and communicate the whys from both sides. Look, there are benefits to online. You know, I'm traveling less, the time, the cost, but then there's also, I don't ever in a Zoom meeting have a one-on-one conversation of a chit chat that generates something. You know, my last meeting before I went online was with a lady that started talking about her dogs. I've got dogs. My brother's got a pet company. You know, one in the Midlands, one down south. And I managed to get 2 referrals, and we started a conversation about pets. You don't do that in this group, you know, because you're always in groups of 4 or 5, etc. So there are a lot of benefits and pitfalls both ways, but communicate. So the other thing I'm saying is, guys, don't be in a rush to make a decision. What's the panic? Who's saying you have to make a decision by this date, otherwise it's one or the other? You know, it doesn't have to be so black and white. So if the government turn around and says, sorry guys, you can't go back till August, you know, we'd be disappointed, but we just wait till August. So why not just give it a month or 2 till people are more comfortable and the weight of which way they want to go is more decided. So but absolutely the key is communication, not decision making.
I've got a couple of questions if you
Always, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got the clarified one back now. So Blake would like to know sort of what do you consider a weakness? How did you discover it, and how did you overcome it and use it to benefit BNI and your members?
Goodness me, I've been interviewed here.
Sorry, I can always rely on Blake to ask.
I know. Is he a recruitment specialist? Is that what it is, or a HR person?
Right, but say wave Blake. Blake always asks.
I can see him.
Yeah. How did you
Weak-
turn your weakness into a strength? What would you consider your weakness, and how did you turn it into a strength? For
So mine is systems. I'm a very kind of it's attitude led, it's people led kind of thing. It's and actually there are a lot of systems in BNI and the follow up, and the way to do that is realize you can't be good at everything. So surround yourself with the right people that are good at the things that you're not. So I'm very lucky. Penny is very systems led, hates numbers. I love numbers and people. So actually we complement each other in terms of business and home. And then my managing area director is exactly the same. She's very systems led, and we work together very well. So I think surround yourself with the right people. Recruitment is key. But yeah, you're not good at everything. Nobody is. So accept your weaknesses and support them with the right people.
Okay. All questions done and out of the way?
I've got one more, but I think Mike may answer this one because I know you've answered it on a previous forum. So I'll let you guys fight it out. So Jason, member at Royal, I'm going to give us a wave. And it's really enjoyed watching my thank you for the business growing as a new member. And that has spurred me on to give more. How do we get to know who is giving it better? As I think this would really help retain I'll let you two fight that one out. He's going to.
That is Mike's. That's Mike's. It's his question for the last 3 years to Ivan Meisner. So
yeah, I mean, do you know what, guys? It's a really valid point, and there was a great presentation actually that Pete and I saw yesterday regarding BNI's analysis of lots and lots of data. I mean, we've got worldwide global data, and it's amazing what they can do with it now. And they're getting very close to be able to predict which members will not be renewed based on statistics. So the interesting thing that come out of it, Pete, and please, I mean, you're much better at numbers than I am, but the one thing that came out of it was actual fact. People were more inclined to stay if they were giving more referrals, not what they were what they're receiving. That actually was much lower down the list. It's their feeling that they were being part of something. Now, the question did get asked to the lady yesterday, Susan Irvine, I think.
Caroline Irvine.
Caroline Irvine, yeah. About, well, wouldn't it be help if we knew what members were making out of their membership? Then we could really direct. And she said, yes, but that has been a decision taken a long time ago. And B and I support that it's not fair to be sharing and us to be able to see what members are earning from their membership, because some people just don't want that. However, she did say there is, though, naturally a strong correlation between the members that are receiving referrals and those that are making the most money, because they can see it at a global level on a few test cases they've done. So if members are receiving referrals, on the whole, they are being more successful than those that are not receiving referrals. Now, they may sound damn obvious, but again, it starts with members' actual retention is about giving more, the more they give, but then also just keep checking on what they're actually receiving in terms of referrals. If you've got members in chaps that aren't receiving many referrals, just ask them the question, how are you? They may be in an industry where they don't need many referrals, but they will never turn around to you and say, how dare you ask me how things are going? They're still always going to appreciate you taking the time to make a call to them, just saying, just worried about you. Just see you haven't got much recently. Are you okay? And they may say, I've only got 2 referrals, but what cracking referrals they were. So, I mean, Pete, anything to sort of, from your point of view, to add to that?
Can I share a screen? I'm just going to share numbers on here that's going to hopefully prove it without the need for the numbers in terms of the referral. These are our member traffic lights for the Birmingham area. And we do this every month that analyzes the green leave that across. So if you look at that, those that give the most also receive the most. So just in terms of referrals, give the next highest, receive the next highest, and so on and so forth. So the reality is, why would you not want to be in the green if you want to receive the most referrals? And those people tend to do the most in the other things. And that's because they want to learn more. They want to engage more, because the more people they engage with, the more work they get. So it's not about the end number that you give or receive. It's the actions you take to get there. So conversation Mike and I kind of had yesterday with Caroline is that everybody's so focused on the end result, they don't want to take the actions to get there. But it's not about, the end result is business. But to do that, you've got to put more quotes out there. To put more quotes out there, you've got to have some opportunities, and you want to work it back to what's the thing that I need to do, that I have to action to get the end. And that's your one-to-ones, getting to know more people, making an effort, doing something for somebody else that you go, actually, I'll return the favor. So the green members just get more. We've driven that. We've now got, I think, 30 people on 100 points in the region, on maximum points. And they're just driving the giving, and everybody's now trying to achieve kind of that top level.
Yeah, I heard it put another way as well, which is really nice, about being active and inactive. It's a presentation by Tim Roberts, who's somebody I admire a lot in the US. And he talked about members in the red and the grey are actually, at this moment in time, they're inactive in terms of membership. And the members in the green and the amber are being active. If you're in the amber and the green and you're being active, but you're not being effective, then he says, speak to us. We have a responsibility to help you, because you're putting it in, but you're not getting it out. If you're in the red and the grey and it's not working for you, well, you're inactive at the moment. So we can't do anything for you until you become an active member. And so you start off by becoming more active. So think about where the member traffic lights aren't a league table. They aren't just one to sort of, as Pete said, they originally were brought out as a tool just to help support our members and celebrate our successful members. They have been used in different ways in that, sometimes maybe as a stick, which we shouldn't be doing and never do again. But it is a great tool for you to really understand how active am I being as a member. And once you're active, then you can be very effective. And that's how we can help you.
Yeah, that's on the Power of One, isn't it, with Tim Roberts? That's how I've been sort of promoting him. So Power of One is a great session to listen to on BNIU. Make sure it's the Tim Roberts version, because I do believe there is a South African version of the Power of One. So it's make sure you do have the right one, because I think, didn't you, Kevin, assign the wrong one to everyone at Pyramid once?
Oh, yes.
Maybe? Yeah.
But the good news is they got to listen to 2 podcasts that week.
Exactly. So yeah, the XCUs. But just on that point, I think there's a great little mini podcast, one of Ivan's podcasts, just on that issue that you were talking there about, Pete, and it's the BNI light just isn't right. And it's people wanting to do it, and it starts off with, I want to run, I want to be able to run a marathon, but I don't want to actually do any of the training to actually achieve it. I just want to be able to do it. And it's a great 15-minute podcast for engagement and just getting people to think about things, for assigning members, maybe an education slot. But it's really sort of that same method, which is great.
I just think it's human nature. Look, we're all guilty of it for every aspect of our life. We want to get the most reward for the least effort.
We do
yeah. But you've all at all times you've got to take responsibility and go, look, my business isn't growing. It's not somebody else's responsibility to grow my business.
Yeah.
I just had this same conversation with my daughter just 2 days ago, and it is about kind of, look, how much effort are you putting in? How many hours are you doing? I've grown several businesses in the past. I said, but they don't go overnight. But I make sure I'm putting that 8 hours a day in every day. Otherwise, if I'm sitting back and doing nothing, then it's my fault. And it's amazing when you put the effort in, how it starts to come back, and you go, this really works, doesn't it? And Mike and I are probably the most guilty in the ED team of getting something to work and then stop doing it. It's human nature. You do it because you kind of stop doing it now because it's working. Yeah. And then when it doesn't work, and you go, I used to do that. Why did I stop?
Yeah.
So I think it's consistency.